Please join me in welcoming Lilian Schwich. Welcome on stage. Wherever you want, maybe in the middle. Does it sound okay? Now to our second guest. Thank you, Lilian. Now to our second guest, somebody you of course know if you've been with the BMW Foundations at previous events. Those of you who already met Gerard Reed will know that we better get ready to meet someone who truly embodies the spirit of innovation and the courage to challenge the status quo on a permanent level. Gerard is not just a co-founder of Alexa Capital, he is a visionary at the crossroads of finance, energy, and technology. With a career spanning investment banking, entrepreneurship, and thought leadership, Gerard has become a very famous podcaster and, of course, one of Europe's most trusted voices on the future of energy and sustainable finance. So if you're curious about where our energy comes from, where our investments are headed, or both thinking can reshape entire industries, you are in the rightly exact place. Please join me in welcoming Gerard Reed. Where are you? Good to see you again. When was the last time we met? Munich. MSC.
MSC, exactly.
How could I forget? Please have a seat, Gerard. Thank you very much for being with us here on stage. We have a couple of minutes to discuss huge topics, and it's going to be rather difficult, but let's try. Electrification. I want to start with you, Lilian, if that's okay.
Sure.
Electrification, digitization, and a topic we spoke, I think, not enough today about is AI, are the new industrial revolution, so to say. What are the three main structural weaknesses holding back Europe's energy sovereignty? Focus on three. You'll get the same question.
Yeah, so, well, firstly, I would say
Microphone? Works.
Test.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So firstly, most importantly probably, 40% of our electrical grid is older than 40 years. And this is significantly bad because with this old energy network, renewables aren't compatible oftenly. And therefore, this goes along with a second obstacle, meaning we have to build out this grid, and it takes quite long. And Europe to
What
date,
means quite long?
don't ask.
What means quite long in Europe, not in China?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Like whoever has seen a building site in a street in Germany those days, those are taking 4 or 5 years for just a small project. But we are talking 20 years, right?
So the lack of speed is also holding.
Exactly. This is a critical point. Therefore, we have to find other solutions to be a bit faster, find regional solutions for energy supply.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you elaborate a little bit on other solutions? Because it sounds good, but it sounds even better if you tell us what are other solutions.
Yeah, sure. So I think we have to look at the European energy landscape more from a regional perspective. The prices today in Germany, for example, are like completely the same if we are in northern Germany or southern Germany, right? This is crazy. This is super crazy. And therefore, we have to find regional solutions. For example, energy storage solutions, but also can be like based on energy generation. Like, H2 is a super important technology which we shouldn't forgo on. And I mean, those regional differences stem also from the different regional consumption profiles. We cannot compare a steel-making facility to a continuous EV manufacturing, right? And therefore, we have to find different sources of energy production. Can be also nuclear energy. In Germany, it's a bit tricky, but if we are talking about Europe, there are still locations where nuclear energy can really be tapped, and we shouldn't forgo on that.
Before we move on to you, just one follow-up question. Do you personally think in this country there will be nuclear energy within the next 30 years again?
No,
yes
I don't think so. Not in Germany. I think this train has left the station for sure. Absolutely. So we should, as Germany, focus even more on renewables. 50 years ago, a solar panel cost 500 times of what it costs today. So I think renewables are clearly, for Germany, the cheapest energy generation form and can be built up quite fast in comparison to nuclear.
Thank you. Now the question goes to you. What are the three main obstacles? So you also can come up with 52.
Let me just talk about the mistake that we've made. The mistake that we've made is we've made electricity cheap or more expensive, and we've done this right across Europe. And that means we've subsidized renewables, we've allowed grid charges to go out of control, and the result is nobody has an incentive to electrify. Okay, so what's the alternative? You make fossil fuels more expensive. Okay, then you're gonna get voted out. So we got stuck. So what we really have to focus on is how do we reduce the cost of electricity? And it's very clear we are electrifying our energy system, right? Why are we electrifying it? One, because it's more efficient. Two, because it's cheaper. When I take an electric car, even with expensive power prices here today, it's still cheaper to fuel that car than to use diesel or petrol. And in addition, all our digital devices require it, and AI requires it. And like it or lump it, Microsoft, Google, et cetera, if we don't build the electricity they need, they'll do it themselves. And that's an opportunity that we should not miss.
Last week, Amazon opened up their first nuclear plant, right?
The what?
Their first nuclear plant. Amazon.
Oh yeah, of course. And by the way, to be clear, I have to understand why this is the next 3 years are critical for AI. And the reason is because you've got a US government that realizes that there's an AI race on and that they have to win it because they've got China on the other side. And they know it's all about speed. So if I go back to nuclear, nothing against nuclear, except your first new small modular reactor, commercial one, will be online in 2035. It doesn't help anybody. What does help is to take an old power station and turn it on, which is what Microsoft is doing in the States. I agree with you totally, that will not happen in Germany. It technically could, but it won't happen because the people won't do it.
Do you agree that the solution is in a kind of a regionalization of power, that you focus more on the regions, as Lilian just said and pointed out?
Absolutely.
Do you think that's and can you explain us why, maybe it's a profane question, but why is the energy price all over Germany the same? What's the reason for that?
So it doesn't need to be, right? So be clear what you can do. If you put smart meters in, take the case of the UK, I'll give you a very simple example of what you can do in the UK. If you have an Octopus EV charging tariff, they will charge your car for free at the weekend. Because there's so much negative prices, in other words, where prices are zero, they'll say, okay, we'll just, we'll plug it in, and at night, when we see the price low enough, we'll charge it for you. That's what they're doing. But you can only do that if you can measure. So it's really critical that we put in the devices that allow us to measure and power flows in the system. And by the way, that's just in a smart meter. If I'm running a grid and I have no visibility into my grid, because really I don't, then you've got a problem at some point in time. And this is what we saw in Spain. And I do really criticize grid operators and utilities because they're still using faxes. This is not a joke. They are still all using faxes right across Germany here today. So we talk about digitalization. They have to digitalize quickly, but we have to incentivize them to do it. Because a grid operator is not incentivized to digitalize. He's incentivized to build grid because he earns more money. Your Stadtwerk, your municipal utility, he earns more money when he builds grid, not when he digitalizes. So we have to change the incentive structure. That's why I say the focus has to be, if Europe's going to be competitive and we're going to decarbonize, make electricity cheap. And that's what we have to think about. And that means re-regulating the whole energy market and the whole way we do it.
Lilian, do you think, coming back to the AI topic, do you see, because AI is also used to optimize grids, of course, and it has a lot of benefits. It's not just consuming energy, it also helps us to distribute energy in a much smarter way than it used to be the case. Do you see AI more as a solution than a burden for Europe's energy system?
Well, I think to enable AI, there is a lot of energy storage needed, but AI can enable the energy grid at the same time, of course, by grid control. but also we have to find the backbone and the hardware to fuel AI, right? So we have to give AI a push so that AI can help us with the energy grid as well, and therefore.
So the chicken-egg problem.
It is, exactly.
Before you elaborate on that, let's ask the audience. I'm curious what the opinion of the audience is. Do you think AI is more of a burden or more of a solution? Hands up, who thinks it's more of a burden when it comes to the topic of energy? Helmut Schönenberger raises his voice. You have a microphone? You have somebody a microphone here? We'll get the microphone, Helmut, and you tell us why. Who's the opinion that has the opinion that's a solution? So more people. Helmut, everybody in the room knows Helmut Schönenberger, right? The founder and CEO of Unternehmertum, Europe's most successful startup accelerator. Helmut, can you give us a short explanation why it's rather a burden? And we need a microphone. Thank you very much. Helmut. I hope that's okay for you, but that's a very...
That's perfect.
So I think it's a huge bet, and whenever you ask people, so what concrete solutions are there out there? So I haven't heard a real answer to that. So it's a huge bet. Maybe it works out, but we will see.
Thank you, Helmut. You wanna answer to that or elaborate on that? No.
Do you want to?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Gerard, you have contrasted previously petrostates and future electrostates, right? That's what you coined them. If Europe wants to avoid replacing dependence on Russian gas with dependence on Chinese batteries and critical raw materials, what does, in your opinion, a credible industrial strategy look like? One that is both autonomous, so to say, on the one hand, and globally connected on the other hand.
So let me start by this and make a
Sorry?
comment. Let me start and make a comment on petrostate versus electrostate.
But you said that.
Oh, I did, yeah, absolutely. So for me, most of us think that petrostates are Saudi Arabia and countries like that export. The biggest petrostate in Europe is Germany.
Why?
Because it's hooked on fossil fuels. It's hooked on natural gas and it's hooked on oil. Okay, it's getting off coal. This is, from a national security point of view, in the world we live in, not good. So how do you change that? Well, you do that by electrifying. Because with nuclear and with renewables, you can do that locally, all right? That's, for me, very, very clear, the trend. The good news in this is that electrification is becoming very cheap, right? We have the technologies. If I take the case of solar, just to give you an idea of the scale of solar, there is more solar put online in the last year and a half than Japan has done in terms of its power capacity in the last 70 years. We've never had a technology in the electricity space come to market as quickly. Then we got batteries. And what we're seeing is costs going down, performance going up. Add that power electronics in and around that, you've got a revolution going on. And we need to embrace that revolution. And that revolution requires us, again, to a little bit rethink the system and probably think a little bit outside the box. That's what I would say. How do you bring industry with it? Well, it's very simple. You need to give industry the signal that electricity is going to be cheap going forward. And the second thing you do is you help them go and re-equip, because they're going to have to move away. If they had fossil fuel-based systems in the past, they're going to have to go invest in equipment. They're not going to do that if they don't feel that electricity is the future, and they don't. So if you want BASF to be in Germany in 10 years' time, then actually make the statement that electricity is going to be cheap, and then put in capital depreciation allowances to allow them to reinvest. And then you re-kick off investment in the country. That's the type of thing that we have to do, and that starts with the government, right?
Where do you locate Germany on that journey? Where are we right now compared to other strong European economies on that journey to that ideal scenario, from 1 to 10?
Let me be a little bit negative and also be positive, right?
Yeah, first the negative, please.
The negative, let me just explain. I'm an Irishman living in Berlin, but I've also worked completely internationally. And I'm very much convinced that Europe can be incredibly successful going forward, but only if we combine the strengths of the different nations together. Germany's strength is without a doubt in engineering, right? Irish strength is in communication and other things, right? With different strengths each. So we need to bring these strengths
Later,
together.
let's elaborate on the other thing.
We need to bring strengths together. The German issue is that Germany has been really slow to change and has not digitalized quick enough, has not understood what's going on in China, and we basically have an automobile industry that's really under pressure from the Chinese, right? Let me talk about the positive things. The positive things is I had a BMW iX3. I love the car, but then I realized actually the new Tesla is better than it. So I went and switched to the Tesla. And I thought, BMW's days are over. I'm now going to buy a new BMW at the beginning of the year, which is the new iX3. Okay. And why this is really interesting is I'm really taken back at the speed at which BMW and the innovation that it's put into this new car. It's 20% more efficient, its range is double what it was, cost of productions are down 25%, and that gives me hope, right? That's what I would say. So even if BMW can do it, other can do it. But I also say, and I'm going to go back to, as an Irishman, if we went back 15 years ago, there was 2 countries in Europe that were bankrupt, Ireland and Greece, okay? Ireland has now become the wealthiest country in Europe ahead of population, and Greece has a government budget surplus, okay?
Within a relatively short period of time.
In a relatively short period of time. And I'm going to say, well, how did this happen? Well, in the Irish context, they went, okay, let's just go for the future. So they got the big tech businesses in, but out of that came an ecosystem. Stripe is the biggest tech business in Europe, comes out of Ireland. Data centers, all the big data center builders are in Ireland. And then they also went into airplane leasing, become global leaders in this. That's what we have to do. We have to really think what's coming and go at it, because we've got great entrepreneurs here, but what we sometimes have is this lack of drive to go and do it. So that's my message to the young generation, just go for it. But the old fogies like me and the wealth across Europe need to support you. That's what we need to do, because we've been very bad at doing that. You know, the wealth in Europe goes and puts its money into property. That's what it does. It's safe. It's not safe. What's safe is just to invest in the future, which is the young entrepreneur.
Absolutely. I think we couldn't agree more. We couldn't agree more. I'm pretty sure when you later on talk about the other Irish specialties at the bar or wherever, you're gonna hear the word.
Only if you got whiskies.
I'm not mentioning the word whiskey, but you will hear the word Neue Klasse quite often this evening, and people will convince you. They really will convince you. What's your perspective on that? Where are we, where is Germany right now and I don't want to talk about Germany, I want to talk about Europe's largest economy. Where are we on this journey? Do you agree to what Gerard said, or do you have a different perspective on that, Lillian?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is much to do as Germany, but I think also we have the capabilities to do a lot. So looking maybe at Europe, where we always try to find a consensus, which is for societal topics important, sure, but in terms of technology, implication and technology scale, we need to be faster. Sometimes we are talking about policies where we need to start implementing the technologies first, right? So talking about AI, do we have relevant AI models in Europe? But we already talk about the policies regarding that, right? And I think what we can do and what we've proven as Germany in the past is we can decide fast, we can scale fast. Look at the decisiveness of our industry, the industry giants we built over the last 100 years, and those companies have grown a lot. So we have the capabilities. We are very strong in research. We have very strong universities. We have to become stronger in translating this power in industry, and have to remember that we are a country of industrial strength and engineering. And therefore, I feel like if we decide on a strategy, if we find the right partnerships, if we really go full on a technology roadmap, we can still do it. And I mean, in general, I must say, capitalism is actually the last friend of climate protection. So industry and sustainability don't contradict anymore. We can now bring something on the road which is really meaningful. And I think if we remember about this strength, about our industrial capabilities, we can do that.
Is this glass half empty or half full, Gerard?
Oh, it's half empty.
Sorry?
That's half empty.
It's half empty?
And the reason I say it's half empty is because we're going through the biggest industrial revolution in the history of mankind. And that's a huge opportunity. So I must admit, from my career, I've never been as excited in my life, right? And I say that as well because there's another aspect, which is geopolitics. Geopolitics is forcing us to change. We might want to change. We might want to have Russian gas, but we don't. Right? That's the interesting thing. And we're sort of stuck a little bit between China and the US, and suddenly we have to defend ourselves. It's brilliant.
Fantastic.
So for me, it's exciting because that's the way my brain thinks. I like these non-linear thinking. You know, if you want to work with me, that's fine, great. But if you want to work with linear people, get BCG in or McKinsey, right? Because that's how they think, right? You know?
What a great last word. Thank you very much for your statements. And the glass is half full.
I like it.
Thank you so much.
Good seeing you.
Thank you very much.